So welcome back, it's Nick from the coach station and I'm here at Smash Padel in Cardiff, and the next stop is around teaching the fundamentals of the Vibora. So let's have a look. Now the Vibora has to use the Continental grip. So if your players aren't using the Continental grip, I would do lots of exercises to try and get them to use the Continental grip before they start working on the Vibora. Because if they're round here on the forehand grip, they just can't get round the side of the ball enough. They need to move that grip here, so it's in that Continental position, and so that then that can be thrown around the side of the ball and it can stay nice and low down that side. Now, the thing to think about with the Vibora is, like, the ultimate tactical aim of this shot is to keep the ball low, down the other end, get it to go into the glass, double glass, get it to ping off either the side or the back glass, and then get it to keep close into the glass. But with some slice, with some side spin around the ball. So that's really important when it comes to the fundamentals of what we're going to teach with the racket work and the biomechanics of the arm and the body and the footwork. So let's look at the next step from the ready position. So from the ready position, the first thing we need to do is to be able to move to the side of the ball, because we have to remember where the strike zone is going to be for this. The strike zone is going to be out here. It's going to be to the side of us, and it's going to be at full extension by the time that we get to hit the ball. So the first move that you have to make in a Vibora is to the side, and then you're either going to go backwards or potentially go forwards, but you've got to make that sideways movement to allow enough move to the side here. The Vibora can't be hit like this over your head here. It has to be hit out to the side of your body, like at full extension and around head height here, sort of forehead, eye height at this height. So the first move you've got to make is always to the side. This shot is going to be best played off a open stance, semi-open stance. Now, what do I mean by a semi-open stance? Now, if we're facing the court this way, this would be a fully open stance. This would be a neutral stance, sideways on, and a semi-open one would be like 45 degrees. So this shot is going to be best played when the footwork is like semi-open, maybe even open, and you've either got stationary and you've gone right to left. I'm right-handed, so right to left, or you're in the air and you're playing it right to left again. So it's going to be quite important that you get that footwork right, because the reason we'd have more of an open stance here is that the upper body can then create tension against the lower body. So we want that tension here, ready for this uncoiling of the racket and the body through the shot. So now, as the footwork has opened up, the racket is also going to go high, and the elbow's got to go high here. So if you remember what we said at the start, we want the ball to be skidding in and keeping low down the other end. So we have to think about what the pathway of the racket is going to do. Now, the pathway of the racket is going to go from high here, down to the hit, okay, but it continues along in that line. So it's almost like the same analogy of like skimming a stone at the beach. So it's like that skimming the stone here, releasing from that position. So we've got our semi-open stance, we've got the elbow high, which sets the racket high, we've got the racket face closed, okay, which will allow then the ability to come round the side of the ball and also get that racket to travel on that fairly shallow pathway. And if it goes on a fairly shallow pathway, it is coming down, but fairly shallow, the ball will then travel with good depth and then get into the corner. So the key message here is, in preparation, the upper body turns off the lower body, elbow comes high, racket face is closed down to the down to the floor, okay, and then from that position, okay, the elbow's up, the racket drops behind the head here and then throws down towards the target. When we're using this shot as a finishing shot, there's no half measures here. So you've got to hit it, right? So we've got to get to the position where elbow's up, we've got our body set up, we're going to turn and we're going to hit into the corner. So up and coming right round it, getting it to skid. So it's like that. That's a little close on that last one. So out here, that would be a better position. Elbow high, behind the head, and the throwing of the racket from behind the head in that throwing action like the skimming of a stone. So finally, in summary, when we're looking at the Vibora, ready position with the racket tip up, elbow goes up high and give room to the side, getting into a semi-open stance, elbow high, and then being able to throw the racket on a relatively shallow pathway, coming round the side of the ball at head height, which will then keep the ball low in the corner with that little bit of side spin. Elbow high, throwing round the side like skimming a stone. So this morning, while I've been practicing the Vibora and showing you the Vibora, I've been throwing the ball for myself, and that's pretty good actually, to be able to get somebody just to practice that for themselves. It's a really nice way to be able to get them to understand the throw to the side, the arm to the side, and to be able to come around the ball. And that's it, we've reached the end of the stop here. Hope you've enjoyed the session on the Vibora. Remember to practice all of those little key points easily to start with when you throw the ball for yourself, and then gradually get your players to practice with some single ball racket feeding before then putting it back into a match.